Hey guys, welcome to Quinian's Budget Crafts. Guess if we're going to be doing Gaslands, I should probably make some cars. This goofy little thing is a Subaru Sambar. I absolutely want one of these in real life, but for now we'll just make it a Gaslands car. Wheels are a bit small though, so I printed out some parts here to use. I've got wheels, I've got a little gun, got a ram for the front of it. And just to keep with being goofy, I think I'm going to put that gun on top. But first things first, we need to remove the existing wheels. It's really simple, you just get a pair of side cutters in there and just snip them off. Don't throw them away though, you can always use those for something else. These wheels seem like they're probably just about the right size. I'm not going to have to worry about hollowing out the wheel well a little bit. And just give this thing a lift kit. A little push pin from a sewing kit seems to work pretty well for an axle. These wheels do have a little hole in the center. So that makes it nice and easy. So we'll just figure out about how wide we want them and then crazy glue them in place. In order to make the ram fit properly, I'm going to have to grind down just a little bit of the undercarriage here so it's nice and flat. And there we go, now we can glue that ram on. Although in hindsight I really wish I hadn't glued this on, and I'll explain that later. The gun's not going to fit on top, the mount is too big for the roof of this. So I think if I put like a pallet or something up against that back window, that would give enough extra room for the foot of the gun mount, and it would add a little bit to the car. So we'll just take one of those pallets we made in an earlier video and trim it down to fit. And I started to realize the more I handled it that the paint on this is extremely thick and it's going to be too slippery for any other paints to go on top of it. So I took my little rotary tool here and used the wire wheel to bust off a lot of the paint, not quite all of it. I mean, I imagine this was probably painted white at some point. A little masking tape over the windows, and we can spray paint this with some gray primer. While I have the spray paint out, I'm going to go ahead and spray the tires and the gun mount, the whole thing, just a matte black, and then I can paint over that. Once your primer's dry, you can go ahead and glue on the tires. Pretty simple, just put them where you want them and glue them down. I'm using the baking soda and super glue trick to make little concrete mounds to hold them on. And then I decided that the rear tires were too far forward, so I just went ahead and popped that off, and I'm using a sharp little needle point tool on this rotary tool to dig out some little trenches to make the axle sit in. Not enough that it's recessed or anything, but just enough to hold it in place while I glue it. And if you happen to get one of these little airbrushes or you have some canned air, you can use that to blow all the extra baking soda off. So I thought this would be a good place to use my neon paints, and they don't really work. They're super thin and they dry kind of dark. They don't dry neon at all. I'm not sure I really like these, or if maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'll play with those things more later. For now I decided to just go ahead and ditch the paint because it's not really working out, and use some of my paint markers instead because those have very bright, vibrant colors. I really had no idea what I was doing with this paint job. I was just putting lines on and seeing where it goes. I was aiming for something like a Baja Buggy sort of color, with bright greens and yellows and purples and maybe some pink. Just go ahead and paint up your metal parts with some silver paint. I mixed the silver with a titanium white to make it a little bit brighter, and then go over it with the silver marker to highlight the edges that you want to have shiny. Then you can take a little bit of sandpaper and mess up your nice new paint job. Just hit all the high spots, the edges, anywhere you might have gotten some scrapes. For the guns there, I did want the ammo box to be green, but that was way too bright green, so I mixed it with a little bit of brown, trying to get that sort of OD, baby poop green. It kind of worked out. I did end up having to go back with a little bit more green to sort of brighten it up. And just paint up the little things on the mount here, make it look like it's got, robot controls or something. And then dry brush some silver over the heat shields on the barrels there. For the black washing on this, I just dunked it right in the container of wash. That did end up making it very, very dark though, and it looks a lot more like a camo kind of paint job, pseudo camo maybe. But that actually still kind of works. Let's go ahead and glue the gun on top. And because of the way these things were made, it still swivels, and you can change out the machine guns to other things if you want. Now we can take some brown and some barn red and a little chunk of a sponge and put it anywhere you might have mud. On the tires, right around the undercarriage. You can put some of the stuff where the metal's all shiny, where you rub the paint off, make it look like rust. And then I got an idea, and I'll be doing this to all of my future cars as well. Instead of gluing the parts on, I'll drill a little bitty hole to fit one of these 2x4mm magnets. If you drill a hole and there's a giant cavity underneath, you can fill the cavity with hot glue, and then just clean up the mess around the hole, and you should be able to get the magnet to sit in there nice and flat. Of course, you'd probably want to do that before you paint it, then you paint over the magnet. But yeah, you can paint right over those magnets, it's not going to hurt them at all. Then, if you put magnets in the bottoms of your guns, you can just swap them out to whatever you need. That way the car can be used for any future games that's not stuck in one particular configuration. You can swap out the weapons. In the case of this one, the turret's not all that bad being glued on because you can still swap out the turret body and the machine guns to something else. The RAM is permanently on there though, and there's only one sponsor that gets a free RAM, so that's not cool. Gonna have to pay for the RAM if you want this to be like a Rutherford truck or something. But it's okay, I could probably snap it off and put the magnet on there later if I end up caring about that. But there you go, now we have a super goofy little truck I'm calling the Bull. Links to the 3D printed parts I used here are going to be in the description below. And if you don't have a printer, don't worry about it. You can make the guns out of pin caps and toothpicks or steal them off some other toy or something. I have one, so I'm using it. But of course, as always, thanks for watching everyone. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.